Welcome to CATANet TV. I'm your host, John Reid, also CEO of CATAAlliance, and we continue our series of interviews with thought leaders on how can we accelerate digital adoption in Canada. We're very pleased to be joined from our Toronto office by Julie King, who's the co-founder and president of Biz-Zone Internet Group, also a member of CATA's Leadership Council. So, Julie, over to you. How can we accelerate digital adoption in Canada?
That is an excellent question. So I think that to answer that, we need to understand why so few small business owners and medium-sized business owners are adopting technology, because the statistics are, well, they're quite frankly depressing. We have some of the lowest adoption levels in the developed world, and yet as consumers, we are one of the highest consumers of new media technologies, mobile technologies. And so we can look to some of, like, I'm really interested in neuroscience and what really motivates people. And so we can look and learn some things from there, and fear, I think, is one of the first things that we have to tackle. I talk to many small business owners and they say, I just don't see how to put these pieces together, and so they do nothing. And that's a very common action. There was that classic story that Malcolm Gladwell shared in one of his books about vaccinations, and people knew that they had a massive chance of getting extremely ill if they didn't get the tetanus shot, and yet even knowing that and being educated, they didn't act until they repeated the study and gave them a map with clear directions on what to do, and then the number of people who got themselves vaccinated, it soared. So I think we have to understand human nature to begin to tackle this question.
So that's an interesting perspective, bringing in the behavioral aspect. I don't think that that's been raised before. So it's not often, it's not only an economic solution, but there's all disciplines that have to be looked at that could be accelerators or drags to digital adoption. What we like to do, Julie, is also ask for a call to action. What would be your call to action that you would like to see embraced as we build out that innovation nation for Canada?
Well, I have been championing an idea called incremental innovation for a couple of years now, and that would be my call to action. We don't need to become the next superstar performers, but if we can help businesses adopt a mindset of incrementally innovating around their business models and their use of technology and the way they merge together, if we could make the entire Canadian business space improve by 1% a year, and that's not a particularly big or difficult goal, what would be the economic impact to Canada? So incremental innovation and taking it in steps, I think, is my call to action.
You know, I like the fact that you've actually given us a metric, because if you don't measure, you really don't perform, because you don't know what you're reaching for. And I think I would be remiss too, as part of the campaign, to not thank you and congratulate you for creating the platform that we're using to reach MPs. It's called Have Your Say. Why don't I give you your last say for you to tell us a little bit about what that platform is and how it's being used to accelerate digital adoption in Canada. So Julie, let us know about that, because that's an important part of this whole initiative.
Okay, so the idea of Have Your Say is it helps us get a message out to federal MPs, and so we've pre-written a letter with the collaboration with CATA, and it essentially outlines the issues, and we want to have a strong voice with Ottawa and ask the federal government. We need to have all levels of government championing this, but particularly the federal government. So you would go onto the Have Your Say tool. You can reach it from the homepage of Canada One. You'll see a pre-written letter. You can select which politicians to send it to. You can modify the letter if you want. And we really want to push out a very strong message to federal MPs to encourage them to embrace this extremely critical issue. What struck me is that 1% improvement in the adoption of enterprise mobile technologies, the study, I believe it's ICTC Canada, has a $2.5 billion impact on the Canadian economy. This is something worth rallying behind and pushing forward to Ottawa through the Have Your Say tool.
Well, Julie, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate your leadership, and we look forward to working with you as we build out Canada's innovation nation and become a leader in digital adoption. So signing off from the CATA studios, John Reid, your host.